Good evening, everybody, and happy Friday to you. And you're watching the Ohio Health Scores and More show. Glad to be back with you this week. I'm your host, Andy Jardy, joined alongside by Travis Berardi. Travis, Week 7 here already. Hard to believe.
Hard to believe. It was a night where teams that needed to take care of business did. Teams that needed big upsets did do that. And some other teams, they dropped out of the playoff race.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to getting into those playoff races with you in a little bit. But we've got highlights from a couple games in the area tonight. As always, Troy Taylor was at the Winford Upper Sandusky game. All Royals in that one. And then Edison and Shelby, Steve and Brian on the call for that one. West Holmes at Lexington. The Minutemen keeping their playoff hopes alive with a big-time win. Ingrid Schmidt will have highlights of that one later. Came down to a field goal at the end. Looking forward to seeing what went down there. And then it was Galleon and Clear Fork. Travis, of course, at that one. Defense apparently optional in that game. I believe the first quarter took 45 minutes.
I think somebody just actually scored again in that game.
Oh, yeah, it's not over yet. They're still going. And then coming up after our scores recap, Mansfield Senior and Ashland. What a crazy finish in that one as well. Jeff and Tom on the call of that one. We'll have highlights from that one. If you can see them, there was some fog.
I don't know. Was there a touchdown in the end? I think there was. I don't know. I couldn't see. You guys will understand when we give you the highlights.
Absolutely. But let's take a look at the scores from around the area tonight. Starting things off, Mohawk improving to 7-0 as they shut out Bucyrus 35-0.
Number 2 team in Division 7 looking to make the case to be number 1.
And how about Winford, as I mentioned, big-time winner over Upper Sandusky, 51-14. And how about Winford the next 2 weeks? Home games with Cary and Mohawk. I imagine those are going to be well-attended games.
And they're going to be big games because Winford, you should jump into the top 8 after your win tonight.
River Valley gets the upset win over Ontario, 16-13.
Sorrowfully, that might put the nail in the coffin for Ontario's playoff hopes.
Oh, they host Clear Fork next week. So maybe.
So you're saying there's a chance?
There's a chance. I wouldn't count them out just yet. North Union beats Marion Harding 34-7. North Union now 5-2 on the year.
Trevor Moran, as usual, 22 carries, $145, 3 touchdowns in the win.
Well, speaking of touchdowns, here we go. Clear Fork over Galleon, 69-35. What happened here, Travis?
Actually, this thing was back and forth in the first half. Galleon had a pick 6 with about a minute left in the first half to cut it to 14. They actually got another interception, tried for a field goal to cut it to 11, missed it. Clear Fork then woke up and just went rampant in the second half defensively, shut them out.
Unbelievable. Clear Fork 7-0 on the year now, and in a couple weeks they will host Marion Pleasant, who happened to get upset tonight by Buckeye Valley. This was huge. The Barons pulling off the upset.
Big shocker. Clear Fork now controls its own destiny for the outright MOAC championship. They do face Marion Pleasant at home week 9.
I mean, this was crazy. It was like 3-0, then it was 6-0. I believe it was 6-0 at the half.
There's a couple field goals, and I believe Buckeye Valley scored late to put it away.
Unreal. West Holmes and Lexington. Here we go. The Minutemen escaping with the big-time win, 34-33. Boy, West Holmes was in the driver's seat of the OCC a couple weeks ago, and now here they go with a tough loss again.
Buffalo Bills fans, I wouldn't watch this highlight if I were you, just saying.
Oh, I'm intrigued now. St. Charles beats Madison 41-14. The Rams now 1-6 on the year as they're still in that rebuild mode, but they're coming around.
I mean, Madison, it was a winnable game for them, but they just let it slip away late.
Worcester takes care of Mount Vernon 44-14. The Generals sitting alone atop the OCC. And it was Shelby over Edison 33-7. The Whippets snapping their 3-game losing streak.
Still hanging on to their playoff lives by a thread. There's a few teams ahead of them that lost, so they should be at least back in the conversation now.
Here's a marquee matchup that went down. Clyde beating Tiffin Columbian 24-21. The next 2 weeks, Clyde will host Sandusky and travel to Norwalk, so their schedule loaded here in the back half.
And that was a loaded game. It was number 6 defeating number 2 in the Division 3 Region 10 playoff standings.
Perkins gets by Bellevue 17-14. And Willard, the Fighting Charlie Fries, beating St. Joseph Central 44-20. Willard now 4-3 on the year. I can remember a time where they were not winning games at all.
Yeah, and they're slowly crawling back into the playoff conversation. They need teams ahead of them to lose, and they need to win out, but you're still in it right now.
Yeah, that's all you can ask for at this point in the year. Monroeville beats Crestview 34-20. 22 unanswered points by Monroeville allowed them to come back and win this one. It was Plymouth over New London 35-6, and Plymouth now 3-4 on the year. New London drops to 0-7.
Homecoming at Plymouth, so big win for them tonight.
Yeah, there you go. Here was another big matchup tonight. Norwalk St. Paul over Mapleton, 49-27. Flyers getting the big-time W.
It was the battle for number 10 in Division 7. They both were 10th coming in this week. And here's a fun stat for you. Jeff Allen, you should be listening to this one.
Love fun stats.
St. Paul, 81-4 in the Firelands Conference since 1995.
Is that good?
Just a little bit.
That sounds good.
Yeah.
South Central gets by Western Reserve 30-29. The Trojans will host St. Paul next week. That should be a good game.
Scored went for 2 late, and they got it.
Yeah.
You go for the win on the road, not on the tie.
I like it. Lucas beats Harrison 55-20. The Cubs now 5-2. They'll host Aiken out of Cincinnati next week.
Jeb Grover, a ho-hum, 6 rushing touchdowns tonight. That's normal for him.
That's right on average. Chippewa gets shut out by Hillsdale 12-0. And Hillsdale right now, last I saw, they are the projected number 1 seed in Division 6, Region 22.
Now, I was looking at Joe Idle. He doesn't have the Seneca East victory in there yet, but because of bonus points, it should be close. Hillsdale, you're at least probably going to be the number 2 team coming into Tuesday when the official rankings
They're in a
come
good
out.
spot.
Really good spot, the host. They went out. I believe they're still going to host.
It was Orville, a big-time win over Loudonville, 48-14. How about Orville going unbeaten at home for the first time since 2004?
Hey, look at them. And they had a big win at home against Worcester early on in the year.
They're 6-1.
Loudonville, you were 4th in D6 Region 22. The loss is going to bump you back. However, that win against Hillsdale really helps you out because of bonus points. Hillsdale keeps winning. You guys keep winning. It's going to look good for a playoff spot.
A couple more scores here for you. Highland takes care of Fredericktown 44-7. And then our final score here, Mansfield Senior beats Ashland 26-21. This game back and forth. Mansfield Senior jumped out to a 19-0 lead. Ashland could do nothing right. And then Ashland scores 21 points in the fourth quarter, only to give up a touchdown in the final minutes.
Really good game. Can't wait to see the highlights from this one. And we do have a couple other scores. Yep. Northmore scores late to beat East Knox. That was a battle of the unbeatens in the KMAC. Northmore wins at 15-14. Connor Becker, 2 rushing touchdowns and a rushing 2-point conversion. His second touchdown came with 2:44 left, made the extra point. They win it, they stay undefeated, and they stay in the top 4. They were second coming into tonight in D6 Region 23. Another good shot at getting to that number 1 spot. And they play Highland later on this year. That'll be for the KMAC championship, most likely.
And then one other score, too. Colonel Crawford annihilated Buckeye Central 61-6. Well, it's time now for our School Specialty and Directions Credit Union Play of the Week. And this week's winner, of course, going to Ontario, as it's Brock Hill. He is going to drop back and find Mr. Wilson over the defender. He carries it all the way into the end zone. An Ontario touchdown there. And that is our School Specialty and Directions Credit Union Play of the Week. Here's another look at it again.
Just right over top of the diving defender. Takes it to the house.
Perfectly placed. It's a great throw. Great run and catch afterwards, too. And you can vote for our Play of the Week over on our website, WMFD.com. Go there and vote. Get your school nominated and winning on our School Specialty and Directions Credit Union Play of the Week. Well, we talked about the Mansfield Senior Ashland game, but now here's the highlights from it with Jeff Allen and Tom Ribnack. Guys?
Mansfield Senior came into Community Stadium tonight, Tom, and pulled off the mild upset, I'll call it, as the Tigers were able to push Ashland around in the first half. As you see Trayshawn Wyndham take off with a touchdown run that gave Mansfield a 6-0 lead, and that quieted the crowd right away.
Yeah, it's kind of, I think, a defensive game plan by the Tigers, and they were able to shut the passing game down pretty much. They did a good job of shutting down the running game.
Now here was a pass play for positive yards, but again, the Tigers were able to push Ashland pretty much off the line of scrimmage. There's Ross Garrison with a pretty big hit there. There's Tavion Harris taking the ball inside the 5. He would end up scoring a touchdown on this play, which would give Mansfield Senior a 12-0 lead.
Yeah, Senior High, they just ran the ball down the throat of Ashland.
And did it for most of the first half, and pressure on Heilman was, well, almost the entire game as he put the ball on the ground, and the Tigers came up with a fumble recovery.
Yeah, Highland, I believe, was responsible for all turnovers, 2 fumbles and an interception.
Senior High's defense doing well. Here, handoff goes to Robertson again, and I think that gave Mansfield Senior a 19-0 lead. But Ashland wouldn't quit. They kept coming back. This is Cade McQuaid with a big catch. And again, this was a pass interception coming up. This is Titus Arlington coming up with a pass interception. And Cade McQuaid with a catch and a touchdown. That put Ashland on the board, which made it 19-7. But the Arrows would keep coming back. Here was a throw into the corner to Cade McQuaid for his second touchdown of the night. That made it 19-14 after the conversion.
That was his 14-yard reception from Heilman.
And the fog kept coming in, which made things difficult to see here tonight at Community Stadium.
So the only way Ashland could get things done was through the air. They had 3 touchdown receptions with 22 yards to McQuaid, 14 yards to McQuaid, and 18 yards to Garrison.
Now here was a 4th down attempt on 4th and 3. Ashland holds. Speaking of holding, they've got Avion Gross there with pass interference, and on the very next play, they throw to Ross Garrison for Ashland's touchdown, which gave them the lead. And you see it again here. After the point, it was 21-19 in favor of Ashland. But Mansfield Sr. was able to come back, drive down the field. As you see Cam Todd, the quarterback who helped engineer that drive. And coming up here, they would get the game-winning touchdown as, again, Todd would use his feet to get in close. Then this pass to Armand Hughley, which gave Senior High a 1st and goal. And the pass to Angelo Gross for the game-winning touchdown. And Mansfield Senior would convert and win it, 26-21.
The drive of the season for the Tigers.
It is. It could have saved their season, as Mansfield Senior comes to Community Stadium and gets a 5-point win at 26-21. Now back to the studio.
I think I could see what was happening.
Was that a touch? Was that Mansfield Senior or the Browns? I don't know.
It was Mansfield Senior. What a game. We were watching this in the studio here, and Ashland could do nothing right. I mean, they were getting absolutely destroyed, 19-0 going into the 4th quarter, and then they rally for 21 unanswered. And then Mansfield Senior comes all the way down and scores that touchdown late in the game there. You were saying they were going to try and kick a game-winning field goal. No way. You go for the score there at the end. They had missed 2 extra points leading up to that. You got to take the touchdown there.
This is why I was so excited about Cam Todd the last few weeks for him to come back. He just composes all, takes it down the field, couple rushes to get there, get him in the position, and then Angelo Gross with the touchdown at the end. Cool as a cucumber.
And I believe Mansfield Senior, too, ran a play on their own, 35-yard line, 4th down. You called it the James Franklin play because it did not work at all. Ashland stopped them in the backfield and then scored the go-ahead touchdown, but then gave one up there at the end. Crazy game.
Yeah.
And don't forget, you are going to want to catch the replay of that one tonight at midnight right here on WMFD TV, and then again at 5 p.m. tomorrow, also right here on WMFD. Coming up next, it'll be Troy Taylor joining me as he was at Upper Sandusky for Winford's big win. The Ohio Health Scores and More show will be right back after this. Winford getting a big win on the road at Upper Sandusky. Our Troy Taylor was there for this one, and you kept sending in those score alerts, and it was like Winford was scoring a touchdown, I feel like, every other play. What happened?
It was just turnovers by Upper Sandusky, and Winford was able to capitalize on those turnovers and turn them into points, and that was the big difference in this game.
Are those turnovers in the highlights?
I think so, yes.
Show me, Troy. Let's go.
Let's get right to it. First start of the career for Jordan Wright. His first pass attempt of the game is intercepted by Seth Benedict, and he returns it 68 yards for the touchdown, and Winford would never look back. The extra point would be blocked, so they lead 6-0 after that possession. 2 series later for the Rams, Wright gets intercepted this time by Nate Embody, and he puts him back into Ram territory. A few plays later, Blake Sparks, he'll bulldoze his way into the end zone for a 14-yard touchdown run. That would be one of his 3. And then it's quarterback Gavin Burris trying to make a play. He fumbles the ball, and the Rams would recover, but the Rams would be unable to do anything with it as Wright, trying to go deep with it, just sails on over anyone, and it's intercepted this time by Danny Bishop, his 3rd interception of the game so far. And the Royals would respond as Sparks just lunges in for his 2nd touchdown of the day. He would add another one later on. And this is a key play as Burris finds Benedict for the 35-yard touchdown. That was Burris's only completion of the game, and it goes for a 35-yard touchdown.
Oh.
Exactly.
It's a good average.
Yeah, and then Wright ball sails on him again, and look, it's Benedict again. This time he returns it 33 yards for the pick six. Winford runs through the Rams 51-14.
Obviously, a lot of ill-advised passes. Kid's making his first start, though. You don't want to harp on him too much. But is that kind of what led into this, was just the turnovers, really, that he just couldn't get the ball where he needed it to go?
Yeah, that's exactly what it was. Ultimately, the Rams just forced too many turnovers, forced the ball in too many spots, went for it too many times. 6 total turnovers in the first half, and the Royals were really able to turn those turnovers into touchdowns, and that made the difference.
Seth Benedict, all over the field, 2 pick sixes. I mean, what did you see out of him tonight that just really stood out to you?
I mean, he really did everything. He was a star at cornerback, returning 2 interceptions for touchdowns. He had the nice touchdown reception late in the second half, and then he also kicked on extra points. But ultimately, he did everything.
5-tool player, as they say.
Mm-hmm.
So Winford now, the next 2 weeks, they will host Cary and they will host Mohawk.
Yes.
Thoughts on those games?
They're key, and they're especially key since they're at home, so that they have to be able to capitalize and finish strong down the stretch.
Yeah, big win too. Upper Sandusky, a Division 5 team. Winford down in D6. They're right there on the bubble about making the playoffs. A win over a Division 5 team like this should put them up into the playoff consideration for sure. So big win for Winford tonight. Troy, thanks again as always. Look forward to seeing you again next week. And when we come back, it'll be Edison and Shelby, as Brian and Steve were on the call of that one. We'll have highlights for you when we come back right here on the Ohio Health Scores and More show. Playoff implications on the line as Shelby and Edison going toe-to-toe tonight. The Whippets, Travis, able to snap that 3-game losing streak, keep themselves in the picture.
You know what? In McGuire Albert, big game for him.
All right, well, let's. I thought you had a little bit more there.
I want to see the highlights.
Okay, all right, yeah, let's send it out to Brian Harder and Steve Weaver.
Shelby
and let's
hosted
see.
the Edison Chargers in Week 7 of the 2018 high school football season, and in the beginning, neither team in the first quarter could really get anything going offensively, establish any kind of an offensive rhythm, and neither team could score anything in the first quarter. You saw the defenses really come up big, but then this play here in the second quarter really got things going. Shelby quarterback McGuire Albert connects with Uriah Schwemley, 77 yards on the touchdown, and it would be the first of 3 touchdowns in the quarter. The second one was set up by this run and a fumble, but was recovered by Shelby. Then on the very next play, Albert delivers a strike again to Schwemley, and again a touchdown for the Whippets. And then later in the second quarter, down the left sideline, he finds Schwemley once again, and Shelby took a 19-0 lead into the locker room, Steve, and they really never looked back.
I think Edison's poor clock management there at the end of the second quarter there led to that third and touchdown of the quarter, giving them the 19-0 cushion.
Edison was able to get on the board here, a nice pitch and catch in the back of the end zone from Beisel to Earhart, but they really weren't able to get anything going after that. Then they suffered a couple turnovers. Here you're going to see a screenplay. This was a big third down conversion to Owen Fisher that set up another Shelby big. Well, here's the fumble that's going to be recovered here by Edison, and you thought this was their chance to get back into it. But Grant Gossam comes up with a big interception, and he's not done. He's going to go into the end zone from 62 yards out, and the route was on.
That was early in the fourth quarter, just when you thought Edison might have a spark to get back in that lead after they cut into it. They turned the ball back over, and Shelby scores on defense and extends the lead and really kind of put it away at that time.
But this play here, a big run by McGuire Albert. You thought he was going to be stopped in the backfield, but instead he goes 50 yards down the near sideline, and Shelby comes away with a 33-7 win over Edison. For Steve Weaver, I'm Brian Harder. Back to you.
You want to know why he had a big night?
Tell me, please.
6 completions, 222 yards. Favorite target as usual, Uriah Schwemley, 4 catches, 183 yards. Shelby, you're back in the conversation. Our friend Joe Idle officially has you guys at 11th right now, and it's pretty much just 1 win behind guys in the top 8. You get a little help, you keep winning, you're going to find yourselves back in the top 8.
That's what you like to hear at this point in the year, right? That's what
just
you want.
Survive in advance.
Absolutely, and I saw a couple Play of the Week candidates in there from Shelby.
Yeah, that interception return looked pretty.
And that field, my goodness, I know it rained, but that field was a mess.
Hey, you got to run up and down it. All those touchdowns that they had, you got to rip it up a little bit.
Absolutely. All right, well, when we come back, Ingrid Schmidt will be joining us. West Holmes and Lexington. This game coming right down to the finish. Stick around. We'll have highlights of that one when we come back. OCC showdown coming down to the wire between West Holmes and Lexington, with the Minutemen prevailing with the 34-33 win, and Lexington now 3-1 in the OCC. Just when it looked all bleak for them this year, they've been able to string together a couple victories here late in the season. Ingrid Schmidt was at this one, and Ingrid, what a game this was.
It certainly was. It was a real nail-biter. I didn't know if Lexington was going to be able to pull out a win, but they sure did.
They did. All right, well, let's take a look at the highlights and see how they pulled off that victory tonight.
Yeah, well, it was homecoming night at Lexington, and there's their beautiful homecoming queen.
Saw this. That's a great story.
It certainly is. Here we are in the first quarter. West Holmes touchdown by Grady Hay. This is a massive touchdown, making it 7-0 Knights. Now, it's an Lexington possession, but West Holmes is going to have a massive interception by Gavin Sheldon. They're going to take it in for a touchdown. The extra point is no good, and it's 13-0 Knights. Here's Lexington's first touchdown of the night by none other than Cade Stover himself.
As always.
The extra point is good, and it's 13-7 Knights. In the second quarter, West Holmes is going to get another touchdown. Gavin Sheldon is going to take it in, 27 Knights. But Lexington isn't done, and here is Josh Ilo with this massive touchdown for Lexington.
Breakaway speed, too.
For sure. It's 20-14 Knights. Here in the third quarter, Lexington's Josh Ilo isn't done, and he is going to take it to the house with this touchdown.
Play of the week candidate.
For sure, 21-20. Lexington is in the lead. Lexington is going to increase their lead even further with this 78-yard touchdown by Alex Green. He's going to take it to the house. The extra point is good. 28-20 Lexington.
This is a shootout. This is crazy. I'm loving this.
It really was crazy. Here's a West Holmes touchdown by Shane Jones. Their two-point conversion is no good, and it's 28-26 Minutemen. Here's West Holmes touchdown by Gavin Sheldon. Extra point is good, and it's 33-28 Knights back in the lead. But Cade Stover is going to take it across the field for a Lexington touchdown. And it is,
That's got to feel good, Cade.
That's
got to feel good.
It's 34-33 Minutemen. West Holmes is going to try for a field goal, and it is no good.
Oh, my.
And so the Minutemen are going to walk away with a victory, 34-33 Lexington Minutemen.
Well, that was awesome. That was a fun game to be at. My goodness. That kick at the end, I saw the replay of it on Twitter, and as I was watching it, it looked good. But
Yeah.
And then if you really break it down, he just missed it to the left.
Yeah. No, I was surprised. It looked to me
the
like
distance.
it was, yeah, for sure.
Key to this, obviously Lexington gets out to early deficit, but then they managed to fight their way back into this game. What did you see was the big difference for them in coming back to win this game?
Yeah, Lexington was very resilient tonight. They're a great offensive team, and they made some really big plays that allowed them to get out to that lead, and they got themselves back in the game.
Now I forget, is this your first time seeing Lexington this year? Or
It
have
was
you seen
my
them?
second time
Okay,
seeing
second time
Lexington.
seeing Lexington this year. I feel like I haven't seen them throw the ball that successfully downfield tonight. Was that something that caught you by surprise?
Yeah, I was surprised about how great their passing game was tonight. It was really, they were very successful.
What do you think hurt West Holmes ultimately?
I think there was a lot of penalties tonight for both teams, but there were some really big penalties that hurt West Holmes and pushed them back. And then, of course, that field goal at the end. If they had made that field goal, they would have won the game.
We saw some sloppy conditions in the last game between Shelby and Edison. Anything with the field tonight, or was everything pretty normal?
It was pretty normal on the field, yeah.
All right, well, they've got a big matchup next week, Lexington does, against Ashland. What do you think you're going to see in that game? What's kind of your feel about who might come away with a big-time win there?
Yeah, I think it's going to be a really tough game, especially Ashland's a great team. But if Lexington plays the way they did tonight with a lot of great passing, they're both, I mean, Ashland's known for great passing, so
Right.
I think it's going to be a tight game.
All right, I agree. I think it should be one that comes down to the wires. It seems like all of Ashland's games this year have, and of course Lexington tonight winning a nail-biter. I'm looking forward to that one next week. Ingrid, thanks again. As always, look forward to seeing you next week. And when we come back, Travis will join me again for Gallion and Clear Fork as we wrap things up on the Ohio Health Scores and More show. Stick around. Gallion and Clear Fork, as we talked about earlier, nobody played defense in the first quarter. What was there, 42 combined points scored in the first quarter?
About 70 in the first quarter, actually, first half.
Okay.
40 in the first quarter. I got you. 70 in the first half, about 40 some in the first quarter. I think just somebody scored again, even though the game's over. But let's just go to the highlights, and I'll show you all this stuff.
All the scoring.
Opening drive, and Isaiah Allsip going to make the play of the night. Soft hands, my friend.
Soft hands?
Soft hands,
yeah. It was only one-handed.
That sets up Elias Middleton. 10 yards off the left side, breaks a couple tackles. Tigers up 7-0. But 3 plays later, and we're going to be all tied up. Jared Schaefer finds Jay Swainhart on a swing pass. He goes 14 yards to the house, and just like that, it's 7-7. After a Gallion 3 and out, the Colts take the lead. Brady Tedrow rumbles through the heart of the line, and it's 14-7. Ensuing possession, first play for the Tigers, and there's a fumble. Colts recover. They are in business. A couple plays later, Schaefer, he's going to throw a touch pass fade to A.J. Bluebond. He pulls it in. Nicely done, using the fingertips for the catch. That's fundamentals, kids. It's 21-7. But hold the phone. 2 plays later, Middleton rolling out of the pocket, finds an open Allsip on the slant, and he will do the rest. Does a little Vance McDonald here and goes 65 yards to the house. It's 21-14.
Look at that.
However, once again, 2 plays later, Trayvon Trammell will bump it outside and fight his way to the end zone. 26 yards. It's 28-7.
Are we still in the first quarter?
Yeah.
Good Lord.
Later in the half now, second quarter, Colts put it away. Brennan South finds Caden Flynn wide open. Nothing but clear path ahead of him. That goes 72 yards to the score. Colts win it 69-35. Trammell, 137 yards and 2 scores in the first half alone. Allsip as well, 5 catches, 127 yards, 2 touchdowns.
Clear Fork still with the best helmets in the area, too.
Best helmets and best record.
Yeah, 7-0. That would put them at the best record. Now, they host Marion Pleasant here in 2 weeks.
Yep.
Pleasant obviously got upset tonight, but what do you think about that game?
I still think it's going to be a barn burner. I think it's going to be one of the games of the year in the area. They have a good passing game as well. And in the first half, you could see it. Gallion with Allsip and Middleton. Middleton was throwing some pretty passes to Allsip. He was just landing it right in his hands. If Pleasant can do that, they can stick with Clear Fork. Although Clear Fork, they have a really solid defense, and their coaching is amazing. Made those second half adjustments. They shut out Gallion in the second half, and they rolled to the win.
Now, you've seen Clear Fork a couple times this year, right?
Mm-hmm.
Was this the most impressive offensive performance you've seen? Or is there anything you took away from this game that maybe, obviously they gave up 35 points, back and forth game. Does that bode well for them at all? Do you feel like that might have helped them kind of learn a little bit more about themselves?
The first half, they learned that they can really get through a dogfight and still come out on the right side. Their passing game, they had more pass. You'd think that Clear Fork would be more of a running game.
Right.
They've shown that throughout the first 6 weeks of the year. But tonight, they did a little bit more of the passing game, and they were able to succeed at it. That opened up the run a little bit more, and I guess it made them more a complete team tonight.
That's a scary thought for any opponent, that Clear Fork could possibly be a more complete team. So definitely looking forward to seeing how they close out the regular season here. Yeah. But that's going to do it for us tonight here, Travis, on the Ohio Health Scores and More show. Great to be back with you this week.
Definitely. It's nice to have you back. A lot of big games in store next week. Ashland, Lexington, it's pretty much a do or die because the region that Ashland's in Division II, it's so tough that even 2 losses might not get you in unless you get a lot of bonus points. As for Lexington, you just got to keep winning. And they also have the OCC picture on their side.
Yeah.
They can still win out and win the OCC. So A lot of cool storylines coming into next
Best
week.
time of the year. I love it. Everything's coming down to the wire. Well, and don't forget, you can catch the replay of the Mansfield Senior Ashland game right now here at midnight, and then at 8:40 a.m. tomorrow, Edison Shelby will replay. Then at 5 p.m., Mansfield Senior Ashland once again, and then following that, roughly around 7:40, the Edison Shelby game again. And then to watch the replays of the show as well. Soccer and football games, head to WMFDsports.com. Have a great rest of your weekend, everybody. We'll see you again next week here for Week 8 of the high school football season. For Travis Berardi, I'm Andy Jardy. Have a great rest of your weekend.